Halloween is coming upon us, so we figured we'd take advantage of this because it's a perfect opportunity to talk about my favorite 5 horror movies of all time. I'm going to throw in a quick honorable mention here with The Evil Dead 2, because in a way it accomplished more than Evil Dead 1. It's funnier, it's more entertaining probably, it's still scary as crap, but it's just, you know, the production was better and it came out like 8 years after that. So that's our honorable mention on this list. We get to number 5, which is Trick or Treat, which is a horror anthology that came out in 2006. Went very under the radar. I'm not even sure if it got a theater release, but it's become a cult classic since then. It's got 4 stories in it. They're all entertaining, all very black, all very funny, while still maintaining that horror aspect to it. The movie, as far as I'm concerned, is the ultimate Halloween movie. If you're into horror movies, you gotta watch this movie around Halloween time because it's a blast and it's just a fun time to have with a group of friends. So Trick or Treat at number 5, you gotta watch it. At number 4, we have Danny Boyle's 28 Days Later, which is political and still, you know, it's got the horror aspect of it is just way different than anything you'd ever see in a horror movie. I watched it at like the age of 12, 13, and it scared me then. But I watch it now and I just really appreciate and respect the amount of like direction by Danny Boyle, and it's just fantastically shot. It's humorous at times, it's dark at times, it's violent at times. It's unlike any zombie. I don't even like to call it a zombie movie because I just don't see it as a zombie movie. I see it as a political horror film that's shot in England. So, you know, it's all British people, and it's just completely fantastic. It's horrifying and still great. You gotta watch it, 28 Days Later. If you haven't watched it, watch that and watch the sequel. It's pretty fun too, 28 Weeks Later. At number 3, we have Wes Craven's Scream, which, you know, set the bar so high for horror movies after it came out by providing like the meta humor, like a movie within a movie joke in it. But that first scene in Scream 1 with Drew Barrymore is still horrifying to this day. The Scream character with Ghostface Killer, now it's kind of just a joke to see him, but at the time, whenever you saw that character, it was frightening. It was frightening for me to see that character at a young age, and now it's just a blast to watch now. I love all the sequels, but Scream started it all. It's very funny, very thrilling, it's just a blast. If you've never seen the movie, you won't see any of the twists coming, as well as the other Scream movies. The twists at all of them are very good. Scream 3's lacking a little bit, but they're all good. So if you haven't seen Scream, you gotta get into this series because it's just an absolute blast. At number 2, we get to the movie that scared me the most in my entire life, which is The Shining, directed by Stanley Kubrick. I watched the movie when I was 7, and it set a tone for me for horror movies, for what horror movies really are. First thing is, why am I watching The Shining at the age of 7? It affected me for 3 months after that, you know, and I think I only watched about an hour and a half of it, because it's a long movie, because my aunt had to turn it off, because it was so scary and so graphic, and it's just so haunting. It's so hauntingly beautiful, though, you know, it's got so many, like, the characters are just great, then the ghost characters are just, it's got some of these images that just stick into your brain. If you watch them at a young age, these images just stick into my brain. I'm like, what on earth was it? The bear? The guy in the bear suit? What? It's pretty gross. It's a gross scene, but it's really haunting. It's just really scary. Really scary stuff. I've been meaning to watch the movie more recently, and I need to, because it's Halloween time, and this movie is horrifying. So The Shining, at number 2. And at number 1, we have The Evil Dead, directed by Sam Raimi. Movie from the late 70s, early 80s. It was rated X when it came out. It was banned. It was banned in like England when it came out due to its graphic violence that looks way better than most stuff you see today, even with its ridiculously cheap budget. The violence just looks disgusting. And while, you know, it still maintains that humor aspect of it, of the Evil Dead series, there's some stuff in this movie that scares me now. I'm 22 years old, and it scares me, but just because everything's so literal, it's not CG, there's like nothing CG in this movie. It's all either stop motion or, you know, prosthetics. And the makeup and everything is just scary, and it's truly a gem of a horror movie. Evil Dead 2 is great, Army of Darkness is okay, Drag Me to Hell is great. Sam Raimi is just a great horror director. You know, he did the Spider-Man movies, those aren't horror, but as a horror director, God, Evil Dead 1, you gotta see it. If you love horror movies, you haven't seen Evil Dead, then you don't love horror movies. You gotta watch the movie. It's completely fantastic. And that wraps up my top 5 favorite horror movies of all time. Let us know what your favorites are. You know, it's Halloween time. Get into the spirit of it. You know, so tell us about it. Thanks for watching. We have some DVDs coming out next week. I just happened to see all of these movies that I'm going to talk about. Even though I haven't seen every movie that's coming out this week, these are the ones that I'm either going to recommend or not recommend to you. The first movie we have here is Magic Mike, which I had the audacity to watch this movie in theaters and was questioned for it. And, you know, the longer it has more girl nudity parts than boy nudity parts. So, you know, I'll just throw that out there. But the movie is surprisingly good. It's not just for girls, you know. If you watch the movie, it's entertaining as crap. You know, Matthew McConaughey's brilliant, and Channing Tatum is actually a good actor in this movie. You know, he showed it in 21 Jump Street, but he's really good dramatic actor here. The movie gets somewhat formulaic towards the end, but it's still a blast. Like, I mean, maybe blast is pushing it, but it's entertaining. It's really funny, and Kevin Nash is in it from WCW. Pretty cool. So yeah, I'd give this a rental. You know, I don't want to go out and buy it unless you're like one of those crazy girls. You're gonna buy this movie, you're gonna watch it over and over again. But yeah, check it out, rent it. It's okay. Next, we have Seeking a Friend for the End of the World, and this movie is, you know, it stays true to its title. You know, at the beginning of the movie, they say that these people went to stop the meteor and they died doing it. So the world was going to end in 22 days. And I believe there's one point in the movie where they shorten the time. It's like, oh, we're taking 10 days off this, you got like 5 days. And the first half of the movie is like a straight up like silly comedy with Steve Carell and Keira Knightley meeting all these people. But the third act is so sad and so dramatic. I mean, usually stuff like this bothers me, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the tone shifts. A lot of people didn't, but if you're into this kind of stuff, it's definitely a rental. You don't want to go out and buy this movie because, you know, some people will hate it, some people will love it. I actually kind of I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. So rent this movie. And last we have Take This Waltz, which this movie affected me very hard when I watched it in around May. A very low budget Canadian film, very limited release, but daggone, it's one of the best movies of the year. It truly is. And you have Seth Rogen playing a pretty serious part as a husband, and basically the movie is about, you know, trying to stay true to your husband as a wife, but you want to cheat on him, and it doesn't glorify any of the stuff like a lot of other movies do, like finding your true love. And it gets pretty realistic at times, a little bit too realistic to the point where it makes you feel uncomfortable. The movie is just completely brilliantly shot and brilliantly acted, so it's definitely in my top 5 movies of the year. So this movie probably doesn't cost much. So I would go out and buy this movie. Just take my word on it. It's a really good movie. So that's the MGMR show for today. Thanks for watching.